Adrian Cross had forgotten the man behind the blue door, but at 1:17 in the morning, his hand still typed the address without asking his permission. He stared at the glowing screen in the back of the armored sedan. 214 Mercer Street. Apartment 3B. No contact name. No note. Just an address his damaged memory insisted belonged somewhere inside him. Cancel it, Adrian said. His driver glanced at him through the mirror. The route, sir. All of it. The map vanished. Adrian locked the phone and placed it face down beside him, as if that could stop the uneasy pull beneath his ribs. 3 weeks had passed since he woke in a private hospital with 6 months of his life missing and half his organization speaking to him like a loaded gun with a cracked safety. He remembered names, territories, debts, and every man who had ever betrayed him. He remembered how to read a room before anyone opened his mouth. But he did not remember Mercer Street. And he did not like mysteries that knew his hands better than he did. Across the city, Noah Bennett checked his front lock twice, then frowned and checked it a third time because apparently dignity had limits after midnight. Perfectly normal, he muttered. Very relaxed. Definitely not becoming my own nervous landlord. His apartment was small, but unmistakably his. A chipped yellow mug sat beside the sink. A half-dead basil plant leaned toward the window with the determination of something too stubborn to admit defeat. Noah had spent nearly a year turning the place into proof that quiet could be chosen instead of imposed. He worked, paid his bills, remembered to buy groceries most weeks, and had finally stopped waking at every elevator bell in the hall. Mostly. He picked up the mug, noticed the faint crack near the handle, and set it down more carefully than necessary. Some things could still hold together if nobody pushed too hard. Noah hated that thought the moment it arrived. He turned off the kitchen light. At Cross Tower, Adrian stepped from the elevator into a conference room where 12 men fell silent before the doors finished closing. Power still worked. That was almost comforting. His second-in-command, Marcus Hale, slid a folder across the table. The Western accounts are clean. 2 captains are requesting confirmation that you're ready to resume full authority. They're requesting permission to doubt me, Adrian said. Marcus did not flinch. That was why he was still alive and still employed. They're nervous. Adrian opened the folder, scanned 3 pages, and found an inconsistency in less than 20 seconds. Then give them something useful to be nervous about. One of the men at the far end swallowed. Adrian almost smiled. Almost. He could still run an empire. He could still make a room obey. Yet when the meeting ended and everyone filed out, his eyes returned to the black screen of his phone. Mercer Street waited behind it. Marcus remained by the door. You've checked that phone 6 times. 5. That correction is not reassuring. Adrian looked up. Marcus raised both hands. Just an observation. Observe something else. Marcus left with the faintest hint of amusement, and Adrian found himself irritated that the exchange had almost felt normal. He unlocked the phone again. The address was gone from the map history. Adrian had deleted it himself. His thumb hovered over the search bar. Then, without conscious thought, he typed the first 2 numbers again. 2, 1, 4. He stopped. For the first time since the hospital, fear arrived without the courtesy of looking like anger. Someone had once mattered enough for his body to remember a route his mind had erased. The possibilities were unacceptable. A threat. A witness. A weakness. Something worse. Someone he had trusted. Noah lay in bed with a paperback open against his chest, though he had reread the same sentence 4 times. A motorcycle passed outside. Pipes knocked in the wall. Then the elevator cables groaned beyond the hallway, and his body went still before his mind could catch up. The elevator stopped on another floor. Noah exhaled, annoyed at himself. Congratulations, he whispered to the ceiling. Defeated by basic building maintenance. He closed the book and reached toward the lamp. His fingers paused over the switch. On the small table beside him sat an old brass key he no longer used. He had told himself he kept it because throwing away perfectly good metal was wasteful. Noah was very talented at lying in practical language. He put the key into the drawer and shut it. That was the decision. The consequence was immediate. The room felt cleaner and somehow less safe. Back in his office, Adrian summoned the private medical report he had already read twice. Trauma. Retrograde memory loss. Recovery unpredictable. Emotional triggers possible. The language was careful, clinical, and useless. He closed the file. Information had always been the fastest road to control. Tonight, it had become another locked door. At 12:46 a.m., Adrian left Cross Tower alone. At 12:53, he told himself he was only driving to clear his head. At 1:04, he took the Mercer exit without checking the signs. When his phone offered a faster route, he ignored it and turned left anyway. His hands knew the streets. His pulse slowed with every block. Adrian noticed both facts and trusted neither. Ahead, the city narrowed into older buildings, dim storefronts, and windows glowing above quiet sidewalks. He could still turn back. He had built his life on knowing when to advance and when to walk away. But the closer he came to Mercer Street, the less the pull felt like danger. It felt like reaching for something in the dark and finding that, somehow, it had been reaching back. Adrian tightened his hands around the wheel and kept driving. At 1:12 a.m., Adrian parked across from 214 Mercer Street and realized his pulse had gone quiet. The building was narrow, old brick pressed between a laundromat and a dark corner store. Nothing about it belonged in his life. No security detail. No cameras he controlled. No reason for his hands to know exactly where to turn. He crossed the street anyway. The front door opened when an exhausted tenant came out carrying a trash bag. Adrian caught it before it shut, then paused. Entering unnoticed would have been easy. That was not the same as being invited. The thought irritated him enough that he nearly walked away. Instead, he stepped inside and found the stairs. Third floor. Left at the landing. Last door before the fire escape. His body supplied every direction before he had to search for it. Apartment 3B was painted blue. Adrian stared at it, waiting for recognition. None came. Only the strange easing beneath his ribs, as if some tightly wound part of him had finally stopped bracing. He raised his hand and knocked. Inside, Noah Bennett sat upright before the second knock landed. The sound was not loud. It did not need to be. 3 measured strikes, a pause, then one more. Noah knew that rhythm. His feet touched the floor before he decided to move. By the time he reached the hallway, his mouth had gone dry. He looked through the peephole and forgot how to breathe. Adrian stood beneath the weak ceiling light in a black coat, broad shoulders filling the narrow hall, his face sharper than Noah remembered and somehow more tired. He looked alive. He looked dangerous. He looked like a man who had no idea what waited behind the door. Noah kept the deadbolt locked. Who is it? Adrian's gaze lifted toward the peephole. Adrian Cross. Noah almost laughed. It came out as something smaller and rougher. Yeah, I know. Silence followed. Not the old kind, heavy with meaning. This one was blank. Careful. Open the door, Adrian said. Noah's hand settled over the lock, then stopped. There it was, the voice that expected rooms to rearrange themselves around him. Noah pressed his palm flat against the wood instead. That usually works for you? Usually. Must be a difficult night. Adrian's jaw shifted. For one dangerous second, Noah expected force, command, the whole weight of the man's world pressed against a cheap apartment lock. Instead, Adrian stepped back. 2 full paces. Enough space for Noah to open the door without being crowded. The movement struck harder than the order had. Adrian used to do that when Noah was angry. Not apologize. Not explain. Just give him room and wait. Noah hated that his body remembered before he could stop it. He slid the chain into place, unlocked the deadbolt, and opened the door 3 inches. Adrian's expression changed. Barely. A softening around the eyes. A breath leaving him slower than it entered. He looked at Noah as if he had reached the end of a road and found the destination. Written in a language he could not read. Noah gripped the edge of the door. Why are you here? I was hoping you could tell me. The answer knocked something loose inside him. Noah had imagined Adrian returning in more ways than he cared to admit. Angry, regretful, bleeding. He had never imagined this. You don't know? Adrian studied his face. Should I? Noah's fingers tightened until the wood bit into his palm. There were crueler sentences. None came to mind. Adrian noticed the reaction. His eyes dropped briefly to Noah's hand, then returned to his face. You know me. It was not a question. Enough to know you don't show up anywhere by accident. Apparently I do now. The dry edge in Adrian's voice was so familiar Noah had nearly opened the door wider. Nearly. He held it where it was. Did someone send you? No, are you hurt? Adrian glanced down at himself as if the possibility had not occurred to him. Not that I'm aware of. That is a very Adrian Cross answer. You say my name like an accusation. You say everything like a warrant. For the first time, something almost like amusement touched Adrian's mouth. It vanished quickly, but Noah saw it. Worse, he remembered earning it before. Adrian looked past the narrow opening, not trying to see inside so much as reacting to something there. The warm kitchen light, the faint scent of basil and coffee. Noah himself, his shoulders lowered by a fraction. I feel different here, Adrian said. The admission sounded dragged from somewhere unwilling. Noah's chest tightened. That doesn't give you the right to come in. Adrian's eyes sharpened, but he did not move closer. I didn't say it did. That was the first reward Noah had not expected. Not recognition, not remorse. Restraint. Small, imperfect, and real. Noah swallowed. Then go home. Adrian looked at the blue door, then at Noah. Is this not it? The question was quiet enough to be mistaken for vulnerability. Noah refused to answer it. Good night, Adrian. He began closing the door. Adrian did not block it. Noah. The door stopped. Noah had not told him his name. Adrian seemed to realize that at the same moment. His expression went still. How did you? I don't know. Noah searched his face for deception and found only anger turned inward. Adrian stepped back again. Lock the door. You came here after 1 a.m. to tell me that. Apparently. Noah closed it before hope could make him careless. He turned the deadbolt, set the chain, and stood with his forehead against the wood. On the other side, Adrian remained silent for several seconds. Then his footsteps moved toward the stairs. Noah waited until the building door closed below. Only then did he whisper, You forgot me. Across the street, Adrian sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. He could still hear Noah saying his name like it belonged to an old wound. He could still feel the calm that had settled over him the moment the door opened. He had no memory of Noah Bennett. But when he finally drove away, every turn felt wrong. By the time he reached the end of the block, Adrian already knew he had not come to Mercer Street for the last time. Adrian returned the next night at 1:09, and Noah knew it was him before the first knock finished. 3 measured taps. A pause. 1 more. Noah stood in the dark hallway with one hand on the deadbolt and reminded himself that recognizing a rhythm did not make it safe. You need a hobby, he called through the door. I have several. Adrian's voice was calm on the other side. None of them explain why I'm here. Noah looked through the peephole. Adrian had stepped back without being asked this time. No men behind him. No visible weapon. Just the most powerful alpha in the city standing under a flickering light like the hallway had issued him a challenge. Noah left the lock in place. Go home. I did. And it didn't feel like one. The answer landed too close to something Noah refused to touch. That sounds expensive, he said. Buy a better house. Adrian was quiet for a beat. You always do that. Do what? Make jokes when you want someone to leave. Noah's fingers tightened around the lock. You don't know what I always do. Adrian accepted the hit without defending himself. Then his footsteps retreated toward the stairs. That should have been the end of it. It was not. On the third night, Adrian arrived at 12:58 carrying a thin black folder. Noah opened the door with the chain still fastened and looked at it. What's that? Everything my people found on Noah Bennett. Noah's expression went flat. Congratulations. You found Google. Google doesn't list the names of everyone who's entered this building in the last 12 months. The silence changed. Adrian noticed immediately. I needed to know whether you were a threat. And now, I don't think you are. Comforting. Noah began closing the door. Adrian placed the folder on the floor instead of reaching toward him. You can read it. I don't need a report to know who I am. I do. Noah stopped. For half a second, grief almost softened him. Then he looked at the folder again. If you want to know something about me, ask me. Don't send strangers through my life. Adrian's jaw tightened. Information keeps people alive. So do boundaries. Noah closed the door, leaving the folder untouched in the hall. 10 minutes later, curiosity dragged him back to the peephole. Adrian was gone. The folder was still there. On the 4th night, Adrian arrived without it. Noah opened the door 3 inches. No surveillance. Agreed. No men waiting downstairs. There are none. No orders. Adrian raised one eyebrow. That may be difficult. Then practice. Something dry and unwilling moved at the corner of Adrian's mouth. Noah hated how satisfying that was. Anything else? Adrian asked. You don't enter unless I say so. You don't touch me unless I say so. And when I close the door, The conversation is over. Adrian's eyes held his. Agreed. Noah had expected negotiation. The lack of it unsettled him more. You're taking this surprisingly well. I'm standing in a hallway at 1 in the morning because my memory has opinions. My standards for normal have adjusted. A laugh escaped Noah before he could stop it. Small, brief, real. Adrian went still, as if the sound had reached somewhere deeper than recognition. Noah's smile disappeared. One question, Adrian said. That wasn't part of the rules. Add it. Noah considered him. 1. Adrian's voice lowered. Were we enemies? Noah looked at the man who had once known exactly how he took his coffee, exactly when to leave him alone, and exactly how to make protection feel too much like a cage. Not exactly. Adrian absorbed the answer without pushing. That restraint earned him something Noah had not planned to give. You were here before, Noah added. More than once. Adrian glanced at the blue door. Did I knock? Eventually. Noah closed it before the question in Adrian's eyes became another one he could not answer. On the 5th night, Adrian did not appear at 1. Noah told himself he was relieved. At 1:15, he washed an already clean mug. At 1:31, he checked the hall through the peephole and felt ridiculous when it was empty. At 1:46, the knock finally came. Noah opened the door before Adrian could finish the familiar pattern. They stared at each other. Adrian looked almost surprised. You're late, Noah said. I wasn't aware I had an appointment. You don't. Then I'm exactly on time. Noah should have shut the door. Instead, he removed the chain. Adrian's attention dropped to the movement, but he did not step forward. 10 minutes, Noah said. Hallway only. Adrian nodded. Noah opened the door fully and leaned against the frame, leaving the threshold between them. It was not an invitation inside. It was still more than Adrian had been given before. 1 question each, Noah said. You negotiate aggressively for a man in socks. Noah looked down at the faded gray pair visible beneath his sweatpants. These are tactical socks. Adrian's expression remained serious for almost 2 seconds. Then he looked away, and Noah caught the faintest breath of laughter. The sound warmed the hallway in a way Noah did not trust. Adrian asked why the door was blue. Noah told him the old gray paint had been depressing. Noah asked why Adrian kept coming back. Adrian looked at him for a long moment. The first time, I didn't choose it. And tonight. Adrian's gaze settled on Noah's face. Tonight I did. The answer changed the space between them. Not enough to erase the chain marks on the door or the history Noah still carried alone. Enough to make the next night possible. When Adrian returned to Cross Tower before dawn, Marcus was waiting beside the private elevator. Mercer Street again? He asked. Adrian stopped. So the pattern was no longer invisible. Is that a problem? Marcus studied him carefully. I don't know yet. Neither did Adrian. But the following night, when the clock reached 12:45, he took his keys without checking the address. This time, he was not being led there. He was going back to Noah. At 12:57 the next night, Noah opened the blue door before Adrian could knock. Adrian's raised hand remained suspended between them. You're early, Noah said. By 3 minutes. That counts as early when someone keeps arriving after midnight without an invitation. Adrian lowered his hand. You opened the door. Noah glanced at the clock behind him, then back at Adrian. Don't make me regret being efficient. It had changed that quickly, not into trust, exactly, but into a rhythm. Adrian arrived. Noah decided how much of the door to open. They asked 1 question each. Sometimes Noah answered. Sometimes he told Adrian to choose a less dangerous hobby. Adrian never argued when the conversation ended. That was what made the next one possible. On the first night of their new arrangement, Noah brought his chipped yellow mug into the hallway and sat on the top step. Adrian remained standing until Noah looked up. You're making me nervous. I'm standing still. You stand still like other people are about to confess crimes. Adrian considered that, then sat 2 steps below him. The narrow stairwell made his black coat and controlled posture look faintly absurd. Noah hid a smile behind the mug. Adrian noticed. What? Nothing. You're a poor liar. You don't remember enough to know that. The warmth disappeared from Noah's voice before he could stop it. Adrian did not apologize for something he could not remember. He only nodded once. Then I'm learning. The answer stayed with Noah after Adrian left. 2 nights later, rain struck the fire escape hard enough to shake the old windows. Adrian arrived with water darkening his shoulders and no umbrella. Noah stared at him through the opening. You own armored cars. Yes, but not an umbrella? Apparently my enemies have. Standards. Noah laughed despite himself. Then he noticed blood on Adrian's knuckles. Not much. A narrow split across the skin. What happened? Adrian looked down. A cabinet. Did the cabinet survive? Barely. Noah should have closed the door. Instead, he unfastened the chain. 5 minutes. You stay by the entrance. Adrian stepped inside only after Noah moved back. The apartment seemed smaller with him in it, but not invaded. Not yet. Adrian stopped on the mat and waited while Noah retrieved a first aid kit. His eyes moved over the room. Without the cold inventory Noah remembered from men who assessed exits and weaknesses. He noticed the basil plant leaning toward the window. It's dying. It's dramatic. It has 2 leaves. Quality over quantity. Adrian's mouth shifted. You named it. Noah paused with a bandage between his fingers. That is an accusation without evidence. What's its name? Keith. Adrian looked at the plant again. Keith is dying. Keith is going through something. The laugh Adrian released was quiet and startled, as if it had escaped before he could stop it. Noah looked down at Adrian's hand, because looking at his face felt more dangerous. He cleaned the cut. Adrian did not flinch, but he went very still when Noah's fingers touched his skin. The air changed, not because of scent or instinct, but because neither of them pretended the contact meant nothing. Noah finished quickly and stepped back. 5 minutes. You used 2 lecturing a plant. Keith needed an advocate. Adrian left when the time ended. He did not ask for more. The following night, he brought a small grow light in an unopened box. Noah stared at it. No, it's for Keith. You cannot buy your way into my apartment through agricultural bribery. It cost $20. So you're cheap and manipulative. Efficient. Noah took the box anyway. That became the first object Adrian was allowed to leave behind. Over the next week, their questions changed. Adrian stopped asking what Noah had been to him and started asking what Noah liked now. Noah admitted he hated crowded restaurants, loved terrible courtroom television, and kept repairing the same yellow mug. Because replacing it felt like surrender. Adrian confessed that he disliked sweet coffee, slept badly, and had recently discovered that the men working for him became deeply uncomfortable when he asked normal questions. What kind of questions? Noah asked one night. I asked Marcus where he buys his shirts. That is threatening when you say it. He gave me the address and apologized. Noah laughed so hard he had to set down his mug. Adrian watched him with an expression too soft for a man whose name could empty a room. This time, Noah did not immediately look away. Adrian began noticing other things. Noah checked the chain even after opening the door. He rubbed his thumb over the mug's cracked handle when conversations moved too close to the past. He relaxed when Adrian asked permission before moving farther inside. Adrian never commented on those habits. He simply adjusted. One night, he noticed the screws on the chain plate had begun pulling loose from the old frame. That needs replacing. Noah's shoulders tightened. I know. May I? Adrian asked. The question mattered more than the repair. Noah studied him, then handed over the screwdriver. Adrian replaced the screws without touching the lock, the deadbolt, or anything Noah had not permitted. When he finished, he tested the chain from inside and stepped back. Stronger. Noah ran his fingers over the new metal plate. Once, Adrian would have replaced the entire door and stationed armed men outside without asking. This Adrian had repaired only what Noah gave him permission to touch. Thank you, Noah said. Adrian looked at him as if the words carried more weight than they should. You're welcome. After he left, Noah stood in the quiet apartment and realized he no longer thought of Adrian as only the man he had lost. He was beginning to know the man who had returned. Across the street, Adrian paused beside his car. A faint flash reflected in the dark window of the closed laundromat. When he turned, the sidewalk was empty. Nothing moved except rainwater sliding along the curb. Adrian looked up at Noah's third-floor window, where the new light made Keith's 2 leaves glow bright green. For the first time, returning to Noah no longer felt like a mystery. It felt like something worth protecting, and that meant someone else might eventually notice. By sunrise, Adrian had proof that someone had been watching Noah's blue door. Marcus placed 3 photographs on the desk at Cross Tower. The first showed Adrian entering 214 Mercer Street. The second caught Noah framed in the doorway, one hand still on the chain. In the third, Adrian was looking up at the third-floor window while the glow from Keith's new lamps spilled through the glass. These were taken from across the street, Marcus said. Adrian studied the angle. The laundromat. Probably. Someone also requested Noah Bennett's employment history through one of our internal channels. The room went cold around him. Who? The request was buried. We're tracing it. Adrian's first instinct arrived clean and immediate. Move Noah, lock down the building, put armed men at every entrance, and remove the problem before it learned how to breathe. It was the kind of decision that had kept him alive. It was also exactly the kind Noah would hate. Has anyone approached him? Adrian asked. Not that we know. Adrian rose and took the photographs. Then he hears it from me. Marcus watched him. You want a team there first? No, that address is exposed. I said no. Marcus's expression tightened, but he nodded. Adrian left before control could disguise itself as concern. That evening, Noah was adjusting Keith's grow light when Adrian knocked at 12:54. Noah opened the door with the chain off and held up the basil plant like evidence. A third leaf had appeared. Your investment is showing returns. Adrian looked at Keith. I expect quarterly reports. You're not getting voting rights. For one brief second, the old ease returned. Then Noah saw the photographs in Adrian's hand. His smile faded. What happened? Adrian stepped inside only after Noah moved aside. He placed the pictures on the small kitchen table. Noah stared at them without touching them. How long? I don't know. That's becoming your favorite answer. I'm working on alternatives. Noah picked up the photograph, showing his face through the doorway. His thumb covered the image of Adrian standing outside. Who took these? Someone with access to information they shouldn't have. Mafia people. People around my organization. That means yes. Adrian let the correction stand. Noah set the photograph down carefully. What do they want? Possibly leverage. And I'm leverage because you keep coming here. It was not an accusation Adrian could deny. Yes. Noah turned toward the window. The curtains were closed now, but the apartment no longer felt private. Adrian watched the tension settle into Noah's shoulders and made the wrong decision before he could stop himself. Pack what you need. I have a secure property outside the city. Noah looked back slowly. No, this isn't a discussion. Then you can have it by yourself. Noah, you don't get to arrive in my life with no memory, bring danger to my door, and then decide where I'm allowed to live. Adrian's jaw tightened. I'm trying to keep you alive. You always say that right before you stop asking what I want. The words landed with the weight of history Adrian could not access. He went still. I did that before. Noah's anger shifted, revealing something more exhausted beneath it. When you were scared, you made decisions for both of us. You called it protection because control sounded uglier. Adrian looked at the blue door, at the new screws he had installed only after Noah handed him the screwdriver. And you left. Noah's face closed. That's more than one question. Adrian could have pushed. Instead, he reached into his coat and placed a folded copy of an old directive beside the photographs. Marcus had found it that afternoon in Adrian's sealed personal files. Noah read the first lines, then stopped. The document was dated 4 months before the hospital. In Adrian's own handwriting, it instructed that if he became compromised, Noah Bennett was to be protected from retaliation, questioning, relocation, or used as leverage. No one was to approach Noah without his consent. Noah read it twice. His expression did not soften, but his breathing changed. You wrote this. Apparently. You don't remember. No, Noah pressed 2 fingers against the page, as if checking whether the ink was real. This doesn't prove you loved me. No, Adrian met his eyes. But it proves you were not nothing. Silence filled the kitchen. Keith leaned under the grow light between them, 3 stubborn leaves refusing to die. Noah finally sat. Adrian remained standing until Noah pointed to the other chair. You're doing the interrogation posture again. Adrian, Saturday, what do you want? The question came less naturally than an order, which was exactly why Noah noticed it. No men in the building. No one following me to work. No tracking my phone. You tell me what you learn, even if you think it'll scare me. Adrian's instincts rejected every condition. His fear tried to call them reckless. He folded his hands instead. A camera facing the street? 1. I control the feed. Reinforced entry? You can recommend. I decide. And if the threat becomes immediate? Noah held his gaze. You ask me again. Adrian nodded once. Agreed. The answer cost him before he even left the apartment. To draw attention away from Mercer Street, he ordered Marcus to relocate an upcoming operation and abandon a profitable surveillance route through the district. It would cost money, leverage, and invite questions from men already testing his stability. Marcus listened in silence over the phone. That's a significant loss. Adrian looked through Noah's window at the dark laundromat across the street. Make it. Noah stood beside him, close enough to hear, but not close enough to touch. For the first time, Adrian's protection had taken something from Adrian instead of taking a choice from Noah. It did not erase the past. It did not make the photographs less frightening. But it changed the shape of the danger between them. When Adrian left just before 2, Noah did not lock the door until his footsteps reached the stairs. Across the street, no camera flashed. That did not mean no one was watching. It only meant the next move would be harder to see coming. The next move came at 6:42 the following evening, when Noah's new camera showed the same gray sedan passing Mercer Street for the third time. He watched the feed from his kitchen table, one hand curled around the yellow mug. Keith's grow light cast an innocent green glow over everything, which felt rude under the circumstances. Noah called Adrian instead of pretending he had not noticed. Adrian answered before the first ring finished. Tell me what you see. Not where are you. Not stay inside. Noah registered the difference. Gray sedan. Tinted windows. It slows near the laundromat, then circles back. License plate. Covered. Do you want to leave the building? Noah looked at the blue door. Noah paused. Adrian's instincts were probably setting fire to every reasonable part of him. All right, he said. What do you want to do? That answer earned more trust than Noah wanted to give it. They built a plan together. Noah kept control of the camera feed. Adrian shared access to traffic footage from the surrounding blocks without placing men inside Noah's building. When the sedan returned, Noah noticed its driver never looked at the windows. He watched reflections instead, the laundromat glass, parked cars, anything that let him observe without turning his head. He's trained, Noah said. Adrian's voice came through the phone, low and focused. Yes. You sound pleased. I'm pleased you noticed. Try not to make that threatening. I'll add it to the list. Noah almost smiled. Then the sedan moved. Adrian's people tracked it from a distance, following Noah's suggested route rather than closing in too early. 20 minutes later, Marcus confirmed they had captured a clear image of the driver and traced the car to a shell company tied to someone inside Adrian's wider organization. It was not a victory, exactly, but it was information they had not possessed an hour earlier. More importantly, Noah had helped obtain it without being hidden, moved, or managed. When Adrian arrived after midnight, Noah let him in without setting a timer. Adrian noticed. He also noticed Noah still kept the chain hanging loose beside the frame, ready if needed. We did well, Noah said. You did. That was almost a compliment. Don't get used to it. Noah handed him coffee. Adrian took one sip and looked offended. This is sweet. You said you hated sweet coffee. So you remembered. Noah's expression shifted before Adrian could stop the words from carrying more weight than intended. I remember everything, Noah said quietly. The room tightened. Adrian set the cup down. Tell me one thing. Noah glanced at him. One. Why does protection make you look at me like that? Noah rubbed his thumb over the cracked handle of his mug. Because this isn't the first time danger followed you to my door. Adrian stayed silent. Noah continued because he had chosen to, not because Adrian demanded it. The last time, you put guards outside my old apartment. You disabled my car. You changed my schedule through people who worked for you. Without asking. You told me there wasn't time to ask. Adrian's face hardened, but the anger turned inward. Did it keep you safe? It kept me where you wanted me. Noah held his gaze. Those aren't the same thing. Adrian absorbed the words as if they belonged in the medical file no doctor could write. And that's why you left. That's part of why. Noah looked away. That is all you get tonight. Adrian nodded. All right. The answer was correct. For several hours, he continued making correct choices. Then, at 2:18 a.m., the camera feed went black. The apartment lights followed. Noah was already moving when a hard impact struck the rear stairwell door below. Adrian crossed the kitchen in 2 strides, then stopped himself before touching Noah. Your choice, he said. Front exit or stay? Noah listened. Another impact echoed through the building. Stay? We know the apartment. We don't know the hall. Adrian agreed. He called Marcus, shared everything with Noah, and followed Noah's direction to keep the stairwell team outside until they had identified the intruder's position. Together, they forced the watcher to retreat before he reached the third floor. A dropped phone recovered near the rear entrance gave them another piece of the network. It should have been proof they could do this differently. Then someone fired from the street. The bullet punched through Noah's living room window and buried itself in the wall above the couch. Glass scattered across the rug. Adrian saw Noah flinch, saw the white line of shock cross his face, and every lesson of the past hour vanished beneath one brutal certainty. Noah could die while Adrian was still asking permission. Lock the building, Adrian ordered into the phone. Noah turned. What? No one enters or leaves until I clear it. Adrian, no. Marcus, disable the front access and secure every exit. Noah crossed to the blue door and tried the lock. It would not open. The electronic building control had already engaged. You locked me in. Temporarily. You promised you'd ask me again. The threat became immediate. So you decided my answer didn't matter. Adrian stepped closer, then stopped when Noah's shoulders went rigid. A bullet came through your window. I was there. I noticed. I won't let you walk into an unsecured street. You don't get to let me do anything. Noah pulled the emergency release hidden beneath the old alarm panel. The building lock disengaged with a sharp click. He had learned the override from the landlord months ago because Noah Bennett did not live behind doors he could not open himself. Adrian heard Marcus protest through the phone. Stand down, Adrian said. Sir, all of you. Now. The command came too late to undo the choice. Noah opened the door and found two armed men in the hallway. His face went still in the precise way Adrian now understood meant pain had become anger. Send them away. Adrian did. The men disappeared down the stairs. Noah remained by the threshold, one hand on the door. I did exactly what you were afraid I would do, Adrian said. Noah's eyes met his. Yes. No shouting. No dramatic accusation. The quiet made it worse. Adrian looked at the chain he had repaired, the lock he had overridden, and the man whose trust he had treated like a luxury danger could cancel. Noah stepped back into the apartment. You should go. Adrian did not argue. For the first time since he had begun returning to Mercer Street, leaving felt less like walking away from a mystery and more like losing something he had finally started to understand. Behind him, Noah's hand remained on the blue door, and Adrian knew the next sound would not be an invitation. The next move came at 6:42. The following evening, when Noah's new camera showed the same gray sedan passing Mercer Street for the third time, he watched the feed from his kitchen table, one hand curled around the yellow mug. Heath's grow light cast an innocent green glow over everything, which felt rude under the circumstances. Noah called Adrian instead of pretending he had not noticed. Adrian answered before the first ring finished. Tell me what you see. Not where are you. Not stay inside. Noah registered the difference. Gray sedan. Tinted windows. It slows near the laundromat, then circles back. License plate. Covered. Do you want to leave the building? Noah looked at the blue door. Noah paused. Adrian's instincts were probably setting fire to every reasonable part of him. All right, he said. What do you want to do? That answer earned more trust than Noah wanted to give it. They built a plan together. Noah kept control of the camera feed. Adrian shared access to traffic footage from the surrounding blocks without placing men inside Noah's building. When the sedan returned, Noah noticed its driver never looked at the windows. He watched reflections instead, the laundromat glass, parked cars, anything that let him observe without turning his head. He's trained, Noah said. Adrian's voice came through the phone, low and focused. Yes. You sound pleased. I'm pleased you noticed. Try not to make that threatening. I'll add it to the list. Noah almost smiled. Then the sedan moved. Adrian's people tracked it from a distance, following Noah's suggested route rather than closing in too early. 20 minutes later, Marcus confirmed they had captured a clear image of the driver and traced the car to a shell company tied to someone inside Adrian's wider organization. It was not a victory, exactly, but it was information they had not possessed an hour earlier. More importantly, Noah had helped obtain it without being hidden, moved, or managed. When Adrian arrived after midnight, Noah let him in without setting a timer. Adrian noticed. He also noticed Noah still kept the chain hanging loose beside the frame, ready if needed. We did well, Noah said. You did. That was almost a compliment. Don't get used to it. Noah handed him coffee. Adrian took one sip and looked offended. This is sweet. You said you hated sweet coffee. So you remembered. Noah's expression shifted before Adrian could stop the words from carrying more weight than intended. I remember everything, Noah said quietly. The room tightened. Adrian set the cup down. Tell me one thing. Noah glanced at him. One. Why does protection make you look at me like that? Noah rubbed his thumb over the cracked handle of his mug. Because this isn't the first time danger followed you to my door. Adrian stayed silent. Noah continued because he had chosen to, not because Adrian demanded it. The last time, you put guards outside my old apartment. You disabled my car. You changed my schedule through people who worked for you. Without asking. You told me there wasn't time to ask. Adrian's face hardened, but the anger turned inward. Did it keep you safe? It kept me where you wanted me. Noah held his gaze. Those aren't the same thing. Adrian absorbed the words as if they belonged in the medical file no doctor could write. And that's why you left. That's part of why. Noah looked away. That is all you get tonight. Adrian nodded. All right. The answer was correct. For several hours, he continued making correct choices. Then, at 2:18 a.m., the camera feed went black. The apartment lights followed. Noah was already moving when a hard impact struck the rear stairwell door below. Adrian crossed the kitchen in 2 strides, then stopped himself before touching Noah. Your choice, he said. Front exit or stay? Noah listened. Another impact echoed through the building. Stay? We know the apartment. We don't know the hall. Adrian agreed. He called Marcus, shared everything with Noah, and followed Noah's direction to keep the stairwell team outside until they had identified the intruder's position. Together, they forced the watcher to retreat before he reached the 3rd floor. A dropped phone recovered near the rear entrance gave them another piece of the network. It should have been proof they could do this differently. Then someone fired from the street. The bullet punched through Noah's living room window and buried itself in the wall above the couch. Glass scattered across the rug. Adrian saw Noah flinch, saw the white line of shock cross his face, and every lesson of the past hour vanished beneath one brutal certainty. Noah could die while Adrian was still asking permission. Lock the building, Adrian ordered into the phone. Noah turned. What? No one enters or leaves until I clear it. Adrian, no. Marcus, disable the front access and secure every exit. Noah crossed to the blue door and tried the lock. It would not open. The electronic building control had already engaged. You locked me in. Temporarily. You promised you'd ask me again. The threat became immediate. So you decided my answer didn't matter. Adrian stepped closer, then stopped when Noah's shoulders went rigid. A bullet came through your window. I was there. I noticed. I won't let you walk into an unsecured street. You don't get to let me do anything. Noah pulled the emergency release hidden beneath the old alarm panel. The building lock disengaged with a sharp click. He had learned the override from the landlord months ago because Noah Bennett did not live behind doors he could not open himself. Adrian heard Marcus protest through the phone. Stand down, Adrian said. Sir, all of you. Now. The command came too late to undo the choice. Noah opened the door and found 2 armed men in the hallway. His face went still in the precise way Adrian now understood meant pain had become anger. Send them away. Adrian did. The men disappeared down the stairs. Noah remained by the threshold, one hand on the door. I did exactly what you were afraid I would do, Adrian said. Noah's eyes met his. Yes. No shouting. No dramatic accusation. The quiet made it worse. Adrian looked at the chain he had repaired, the lock he had overridden, and the man whose trust he had treated like a luxury danger could cancel. Noah stepped back into the apartment. You should go. Adrian did not argue. For the first time since he had begun returning to Mercer Street, leaving felt less like walking away from a mystery and more like losing something he had finally started to understand. Behind him, Noah's hand remained on the blue door, and Adrian knew the next sound would not be an invitation. Adrian did not return to Mercer Street the next night, but at 10:14 the following morning, he sent Noah a single file and one sentence. You decide what happens next. The file contained the 23 midnight routes Marcus had recovered from Adrian's car. No destinations were entered. No driver had been assigned. Each trip ended outside 214 Mercer Street, beginning 6 weeks before the hospital and continuing until the night Adrian lost his memory. Noah stared at the dates from his kitchen table, the old brass key resting beside his yellow mug. He remembered those nights now with painful clarity. Adrian would arrive after meetings, threats, or arguments he refused to name. At first, he stayed in the hallway. Later, when Noah chose to open the door, he sat near the entrance and let the quiet do what power never could. Once, Noah had asked why he kept coming. Adrian had looked at the blue paint and said it was the only place in the city where nobody needed him to be Adrian Cross. Noah called him. Adrian answered immediately, but said nothing. "You came before the accident," Noah said. "I know. You came after we separated." Silence. "Then, why did you let me stay?" "Sometimes I didn't. And when you did?" Noah looked at the repaired chain. "Because you waited." The answer settled between them. The mystery was no longer supernatural or accidental. Adrian's mind had lost Noah, but the route had been repeated until it lived somewhere deeper than names. His body remembered the one place where he had been allowed to stop performing control. "I wasn't returning because you belonged to me," Adrian said. "No," Noah's voice softened despite himself. "You were returning because I was the only person who made you leave that idea outside." Before either man could say more, another file appeared on Noah's phone. This one came from Marcus. The surveillance request, the gray sedan, and the shooter's payment all led back to one of the captains who had questioned Adrian's authority after the hospital. He had used Noah to test whether Adrian's missing memories could be turned into reckless decisions. If Adrian locked Noah away, attacked without proof, or exposed his instability, the organization would fracture around him. A meeting had been called at Crosstower for noon. "You have the original camera files," Adrian said. "They connect the sedan to the shooter's route. I won't take them from you." Noah heard what Adrian was offering, and what he was refusing to do. "What are my options?" "Send them to Marcus. Give permission for us to use them anonymously. Come yourself. Or do nothing. If you choose nothing, I'll step away from the meeting before I let them use you as evidence of my control." "You'd give up your position?" "I'd give up the outcome." Noah's fingers closed around the brass key. Once, Adrian had given him access to a fortress and still made him feel trapped inside it. Now Adrian was giving him the ability to decide whether to enter at all. "I'm coming," Noah said. "That isn't the safest option." "I didn't ask for the safest option." A pause. "No," Adrian said. "You didn't." Noah used the old key at the private elevator just before noon. It still worked. When the doors opened, Adrian stood at the far end of the corridor with Marcus, but neither man moved toward him. Adrian's restraint was visible in the stillness of his hands. "You can leave at any time," he said. Noah lifted the drive containing the original footage. "Then let's make sure I don't have to come back." The council room fell silent when Noah entered beside no one. The captain responsible for the surveillance dismissed him as leverage before Noah placed the files on the table. The footage showed the sedan's pattern. Its metadata matched the shell company. The recovered phone linked the shooter to an internal account authorized by the captain's office. Adrian could have ended the confrontation with an order. Instead, he let Noah decide whether his name, address, and images would be entered into the record. "Remove my home," Noah said. "Remove my face. Keep everything that proves what he did." Adrian nodded to Marcus. "Do exactly that." The captain accused Adrian of weakness. Adrian did not deny that Noah mattered. He denied that importance created ownership. Then he placed his sealed medical report on the table and acknowledged the missing memories before anyone else could weaponize them. The move cost him certainty, reputation, and the illusion that power required invulnerability. It also left the captain with nothing hidden to expose. By the time security removed the man, the threat network had lost its access, its money, and its protection inside Adrian's organization. Noah had not been rescued. He had chosen the evidence, the terms, and the risk. Adrian had not controlled the result. He had trusted Noah with it. Afterward, they stood alone beside the elevator. Adrian looked at the brass key in Noah's hand. "You kept it." "I forgot to throw it away." "You're a poor liar." Noah almost smiled. "I learned from someone difficult." Adrian did not ask him to stay. Noah left Crosstower alone. Hours passed before the familiar knock came at the blue door. 3 measured taps. A pause. One more. Noah opened it with the chain still fastened. Adrian stood 2 steps back, no guards behind him, no demand in his posture. "I know why I came before," he said. "And tonight. Tonight I came because I choose you. But that doesn't mean you have to choose me." Noah studied the man outside, The same power, the same damaged memory, but not the same decision. Then he closed the door. Adrian did not move. The chain slid free. When Noah opened it again, the space between them belonged to neither man alone. "Tonight," Noah said, stepping aside. "You can come in." Adrian waited until Noah nodded before crossing the threshold. Adrian crossed the threshold as if Noah had handed him something breakable. He stopped on the entry mat, waited for the blue door to close, and looked toward the chain without touching it. "You can take off your coat," Noah said. "Is that permission or a test?" "With you, those are often the same thing." Adrian removed the coat and placed it over the chair instead of claiming space on the couch. The bullet hole still marked the living room wall, patched but not painted. Fresh glass filled the window frame. Keith stood beneath the grow light with 2 healthy leaves and one scarred down the middle. Adrian studied the plant. He survived, out of spite, a respectable motive. Noah almost smiled. Neither man tried to turn the moment into a reunion. Adrian did not ask what they were now. Noah did not demand promises from a man still carrying blank spaces where 6 months should have been. They sat at the kitchen table with the old brass key between them, and for the first time, the past was present without controlling the room. "My memories may not return," Adrian said. His voice was steady, but his hand remained flat against the table, as if resisting the instinct to reach. "The doctors can't promise anything." Noah traced the crack in the yellow mug. "I know. Some things feel familiar. Most don't." Adrian looked at him directly. "I remember the routes, not the nights." The truth hurt, but it did not surprise Noah anymore. "Then don't pretend." "I won't. And don't ask me to rebuild them for you." "I won't do that either." Noah studied him, searching for the old need to negotiate. Adrian simply waited. "You can ask questions," Noah said. "I decide what I answer." "Agreed. You say that a lot now." "I'm practicing." That pulled a quiet laugh from Noah, and Adrian's shoulders eased. The change was small. It was also real. In the days that followed, Adrian did not move into Noah's apartment, assign guards to the block, or replace the blue door with something armored enough to survive a war. He sent Noah 3 security recommendations. Noah rejected 2, modified the 3rd, and hired his own contractor. Adrian paid only after Noah sent him half the invoice with a note that read, "You caused the bullet hole. This is not romance." Adrian replied, "The accounting department will be devastated." Noah kept the message. Cross Tower stabilized without Adrian hiding the truth of his condition. The captain's network was dismantled, the stolen access was closed, and Marcus became the only person permitted to contact Noah about security, and only when Noah requested it. The first time Marcus called to confirm a threat report, he opened with, "I have permission to speak to you." Noah said, "That sounded painful. It's been an adjustment for all of us." Adrian's power had not disappeared. What changed was where he allowed it to stop. Noah returned to work, bought groceries badly, and continued watching terrible courtroom television. Adrian occasionally appeared beside him with the expression of a man enduring state punishment. "The witness is obviously lying," he said one evening. Noah handed him a bowl of popcorn. "That is the entire business model. The judge should remove him. You cannot order people off television." Adrian took the bowl. "I could purchase the network. And that is why you don't get unsupervised hobbies." Their closeness grew in ordinary decisions. Adrian asked before touching him. Noah learned that saying yes did not erase his ability to say no later. When Noah needed space, Adrian left without turning silence into punishment. When Adrian woke disoriented from dreams he could not remember, he called instead of appearing unannounced. Sometimes Noah answered. Sometimes he sent a message telling Adrian to sleep. Both choices were respected. The old brass key stayed on Noah's kitchen table for several weeks. Then one afternoon, he returned it to Adrian. Adrian looked down at his open palm. "You don't want access?" "Not to that place." Noah closed Adrian's fingers around the key. "If we build something, it won't be inside a house where you once decided safety for both of us." Adrian nodded. He did not argue that the residence could be changed. He understood Noah was not rejecting a building. He was refusing an old structure. "Then we build something else," Adrian said. "Slowly. Painfully slowly. You'll survive." Keith did. The plant eventually produced 5 leaves, which Noah treated as a personal triumph and Adrian described as suspiciously rapid expansion. The yellow mug finally broke one morning when its cracked handle separated in Noah's hand. He stared at the pieces in the sink longer than the loss deserved. Adrian stood beside him but did not offer to replace it. "I like that mug," Noah said. "I know. It was already broken. That didn't make it worthless." Noah looked at him. Adrian held his gaze without trying to turn the moment into a lesson. The next night, Noah bought 2 new mugs himself. One yellow, one black. Months after the first return, Adrian still came to Mercer Street at night. But he no longer arrived because his hands followed a route his mind could not explain. He texted first. He used the front entrance. He knocked even after Noah gave him a key, because the key meant access to the building, not ownership of the person inside. 3 measured taps. A pause. One more. Noah opened the blue door wearing tactical socks and holding the black mug. "You're late." Adrian checked his watch. "By 40 seconds. Standards are standards. Am I allowed in?" Noah looked past him at the quiet hallway, then back at the man who remembered some things, had lost others, and no longer treated uncertainty like an enemy to conquer. Noah stepped aside. "You are." Adrian crossed only after the invitation. Behind him, Noah closed the door but left the chain hanging loose. The lock was still his. The choice was still his. And every night Adrian returned, he no longer came searching for a forgotten piece of himself. He came because Noah was not a memory, a weakness, or a place to hide from the world. He was the man Adrian chose in full awareness, and the man who remained free to choose him back. This time, the blue door did not close between them. It closed around them, warm light on one side, the dark hallway on the other, and home existing only because both men had decided to enter.